council chamber of the Galactic Union was silent. Hundreds of alien species sat in their shining seats, eyes fixed on the trembling officer standing in the center. His uniform was torn, his face pale, his breathing uneven. Behind him, the holoscreen flickered with images from a destroyed colony. Entire cities burned. Ships floated in silence, broken and twisted. The only word on every alien's mind was the one name spoken in fear across the galaxy: humans. Admiral Zorath. A reptilian warlord known for his cruelty leaned forward. His voice was low but filled with anger. "You mean to say a single human did this?" The officer swallowed hard. "Not one, Admiral. There were 5. 5 humans." A cold shiver spread through the room. The officer continued. "We sent an entire fleet. 3 destroyers, 2 carriers, and a ground force of 10,000. They were gone in hours. The humans used old ships, outdated weapons, but somehow they outsmarted everything we had." He looked down, unable to meet anyone's eyes. "We never stood a chance." Across the hall, whispers began. Some aliens didn't believe it. Others looked afraid. For decades, the Galactic Union had ignored humanity. After all, Earth was small, poor, and far from the core worlds. Humans had been banned from joining the Union long ago, after a series of violent wars. The galaxy thought they were extinct. No one expected them to return. Admiral Zorath slammed his clawed hand on the table. "Lies. Humans were destroyed centuries ago. You bring us ghost stories." But the officer's trembling voice broke through. "I saw them with my own eyes. They call themselves the Terran Vanguard now. They wear black armor with a red insignia, the mark of a burning world." The chamber darkened as the holoscreen replayed the battle footage. It showed a barren planet under siege. Alien troops moved through ruined streets, scanning for life. Suddenly the air shimmered. From the shadows, figures emerged, humans in heavy suits, their helmets glowing with red light. They moved fast, silent, and precise. Within seconds, the alien soldiers fell one by one. No hesitation. One of the humans looked straight into the recording drone. His face was covered in scars, his eyes burning with cold determination. He said only one line before the drone signal cut out. "You should have left us alone." The room froze. Even Admiral Zorath had no words. The officer whispered, "They are not fighting for conquest. They are fighting for revenge." Rumors spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Some said the humans had been hiding on lost worlds, rebuilding in secret. Others said they had merged with machines, becoming something beyond mortal. But the truth was simpler. They had been forgotten. They had suffered. And now they were back, on the edge of the galaxy. Far from the bright worlds of the Union, a human ship drifted silently through space. Its hull was old and scarred, but its weapons were sharp and ready. Inside, Captain Elias Kane stood at the viewing port, watching the stars. His crew was small, only 12, but each one had fought in 100 battles. Elias spoke quietly, almost to himself. "They thought they could erase us. They were wrong." Behind him, his second-in-command, a woman named Rhea, smiled faintly. "The Union will send more fleets." "I know," Elias said. "Let them come." He turned, eyes cold as space itself. "We are the last sons and daughters of Earth, and before this ends, the galaxy will remember our name." Outside, the ship's engines roared to life, cutting through the dark like a blade. Their destination was marked on the map: a Union stronghold world, rich and powerful. The humans weren't hiding anymore. They were going to strike where it hurt most. Far away on the Union capital, the Council tried to stay calm. But every leader in that room knew one thing deep down. The balance of the galaxy had shifted. A forgotten species had returned from the ashes, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt fear. The Galactic Union did not take long to respond. Within days of the report, fleets were mobilized from every major system. Thousands of warships gathered near the capital. World of Velian Prime. Their mission was simple: find and destroy. the Terran vanguard before the panic spread any further. Admiral Zoroth stood on the bridge of his massive command ship. Obsidian Fang. The stars stretched across the dark void as the fleet prepared to jump. His voice echoed through the intercom. They think they can hide among the dead worlds. We will burn those worlds again and finish what our ancestors started. But deep inside, Zorath felt something he would never admit: unease. The last time the galaxy fought humans, entire fleets vanished. They had expected primitive savages. What they met instead were monsters of will, across the stars. Captain Elias Kane and his small crew watched the Union fleet's movement from the shadows. Their ship, the Revenant, was hidden in the wreckage field of an old battle site. Rhea studied the holographic map. They're sending 2,000 ships. We can't face them directly. Leia smiled faintly. We don't need to. We just need to remind them what humans are. The crew began their silent work. They had no large army, no endless supply lines, but they had something the Union had forgotten: creativity, instinct, and desperation. In the cold vacuum, human ingenuity was a weapon deadlier than any plasma cannon. Hours later, the Union fleet jumped into a deserted system sector 09X, once home to an abandoned mining world. The planet looked lifeless, its surface cracked and gray. Perfect for an ambush. Scanners show nothing, said the bridge officer. No life signs. No power readings. Admiral Zorath frowned. Deploy scout ships. I want every inch scanned. As the scouts descended, they reported old human structures, broken machines, and empty tunnels. Everything looked abandoned. Then the static began. One by one, the scout signals vanished. Sir, we're losing contact. Zorath turned sharply. Get them back on comms now. Before anyone could answer, the first explosion hit. A blinding light tore through the fleet. One of the cruisers vanished in an instant. Then another. The battlefield erupted in chaos. Invisible mines, ancient human traps buried deep in the planet's orbit, had awakened. And among the wreckage, the Revenant appeared. Silent and deadly. Ilias's voice filled the comm channel of the Union fleet. You came to hunt us. Now you are the hunted. Dozens of old satellites around the planet powered up, firing coordinated bursts of EMP and plasma. The Union ships struggled to respond. Systems failed. Shields collapsed. Ships collided in confusion. Rhea targeted the largest destroyer. Locking railguns. Ilias nodded. Fire. The ship shuddered as its kinetic cannons unleashed slugs moving at near light speed. They tore through the destroyer's hull like paper. Within 20 minutes, what was once a grand fleet had turned into burning wreckage. The humans didn't stay to celebrate. They disappeared into the dark again, leaving only fragments of their message behind. Leave Earth forgotten, or face extinction. When word of the battle reached Velian Prime, panic spread faster than any virus. News networks called it the Ghost War. Civilians demanded protection. Traders refused to move through human sectors. Even the strongest species began fortifying their worlds. At the council meeting, chaos ruled. One ambassador shouted they were supposed to be extinct. Another yelled, "You fools woke them." Admiral Zorath, humiliated and wounded, spoke through gritted teeth. This is no longer a small rebellion. This is a war. But even as he said it, deep space sensors picked up a disturbing signal, a human transmission broadcasting across multiple systems. It repeated one line in hundreds of languages. We remember what you did to Earth. Back aboard the Revenant, Rhea looked at the transmission and smiled faintly. They're scared. Elias watched the stars, his jaw firm. Good. Let them fear. But fear alone isn't justice. He turned toward his crew. Set a course for Velian Prime. It's time the galaxy's rulers remember what they created. The stars stretched as the human ship entered faster than light travel, vanishing into the void. Behind them, wrecked fleets floated in silence. A reminder to every species in the galaxy, the humans had returned. And this time, they would not be erased. The Galactic Union capital, Velian Prime had never known fear. It was a planet of light and power, filled with towers that touched the sky and ships that covered the orbit like stars. But now, that light felt colder. Every citizen could sense it, the calm before something terrible. The news channels played the same footage again and again. Destroyed fleets, burning ships. And one human voice whispering through static, "We remember what you did to Earth." In the Grand Chamber, the Union Council gathered once more. Dozens of species sat around the circular table, each one trying to hide its panic behind calm words. The holographic image of Admiral Zoroth flickered above them. His scales were scorched, his armor cracked. "The fleet is gone," he admitted. "They attacked with no warning, using ancient weapons and impossible tactics. We underestimated them." The council erupted. "Impossible," shouted the ambassador of the Xerac. "How can one small group destroy thousands of ships?" Another alien hissed. "They're not a group. They're a plague." The High Chancellor raised her metallic hand. "Enough. The humans are not gods. They bleed like we do. They must have bases, supply lines, allies. Find them. Erase them." But no one noticed that their communication lines were already being watched. Far beyond Velian Prime, in the darkness between systems, the Revenant drifted silently. Inside, Captain Elias Kane studied the glowing map projected on the table. Red dots marked Union fleets. Blue lights marked potential targets. His crew waited quietly for orders. Rhea broke the silence. "They're scared, but they'll strike again soon. Zoroth won't stop until we're dust." Elias nodded. "Good. Let him come. The more they send, the weaker they become." He pointed to the map. "But now, we strike first." He zoomed in on a single glowing world, Velian Prime. It's the heart of the Union. "If we hit them there, every species will know the truth. The humans are not ghosts. We are vengeance." His crew exchanged uneasy looks. "Captain," said one engineer, "that's suicide. They have orbital defenses, planetary shields, millions of troops." Ilias's voice was calm. "That's what they said when they bombed Earth. That's what they said when they left us to die. We don't need to win a war. We just need them to feel what we felt." Hours later, in the empty void, the Revenant powered up its stealth systems. Its black hole shimmered and vanished into the darkness. The small human ship moved like a shadow toward the most powerful planet in the galaxy. Meanwhile, on Velian Prime, alarms began to sound. The defense grid detected something, a faint energy signature approaching at impossible speed. Commanders shouted orders. Fighter wings launched into the sky. Cannons turned toward the stars. Then the signal vanished. On the main tactical screen, an officer reported, "Target lost, sir. It's gone." Admiral Zoroth, now stationed in orbit, snarled. "Nothing just disappears. Find it." But the Revenant was already inside the system, using fragments of old Union tech stolen from battlefields. The humans had learned how to bend their signal, hide their movement, and strike unseen. The human crew watched through their narrow windows as the shining world of Velian Prime filled the view. Rhea whispered, "There it is. The place that ordered our extinction." Elias gave the command. "Launch the ghosts." Dozens of small pods detached from the ship, silent and cold. They fell toward the planet like shooting stars. Inside each pod were human drones, half-machine, half-man creations built from the remains of old soldiers. Once on the surface, they would spread a message across every broadcast channel. Within minutes, the people of Velian Prime stopped in shock as every screen, every holodisplay, every network signal changed. The image of a human appeared, pale face, scarred eyes, sharp as knives. The voice echoed across the entire planet. "You thought you could erase us? You took our world, our children, our future, but you forgot one thing: humans endure." As the speech played, the drones exploded across key military zones, disabling weapon systems and power grids. Panic spread through the streets. Ships couldn't launch. Communications failed. The once perfect world fell into chaos. In orbit, Admiral Zoroth watched in disbelief. They're not attacking for control, he realized. They're attacking our pride. Elias's voice came through the Union frequencies, calm and steady. You called us monsters. Maybe you were right. You made us this way. Then the transmission cut off. The drones deactivated. Silence followed, heavy, suffocating silence. Velian Prime's defenses went back online hours later, but the damage was done. Billions had heard the human message. The entire galaxy had witnessed the impossible. The forgotten species had struck the heart of power and vanished again like shadows. Back aboard the Revenant, Aria looked at the captain. We've started something we can't stop. Elias stared at the stars. I know. That's the point. He turned toward the crew. Prepare the next target. The galaxy wants to remember us. Then we'll make sure they never forget. Outside, the ship drifted into the dark once more, leaving behind a planet that finally understood the meaning of fear. The galaxy burned with fear and anger. Every system was on high alert. Fleets patrolled their borders. Traders refused to travel near human sectors. The word Terran had become a curse, whispered only when no one was listening. Yet no one knew where the humans truly were. They appeared, destroyed, and vanished again like ghosts in the dark. Admiral Zorath stood in his command chamber aboard the Obsidian Fang, staring at the ruins of another destroyed convoy. The reports were the same. Everywhere supply lines gone, communications jammed, bases silent. The humans were striking faster, smarter, and with purpose. Zorath slammed his fist on the table. They're not just fighting. They're teaching us something. His officer looked nervous. Sir, there's something worse. We recovered fragments from a destroyed human drone. There's data in it, coordinates, logs, and a recording. Play it, Zorath ordered. The screen flickered to life. It showed Earth, or what was left of it. A dead planet burned in black, surrounded by broken satellites and dust. Then, the video shifted images of alien ships bombing cities, burning oceans, silencing billions of human voices. The last frame showed a single line burned into the ground by human survivors. We will return. Zorath's face hardened. So it's true, he muttered. The Union did this. The officer hesitated. The old records say humans attacked first, that they refused peace.
Ow.
Zorath's tail lashed in anger. That's what they told us. But lies have built this Union. Across the stars aboard the Revenant, Elias Kane watched the same old footage. The truth was hard to watch, even for him. He remembered the stories his parents told, how the Union promised peace, then sent fire. How billions died when Earth's atmosphere was poisoned. How the survivors fled to the edge of space, hunted and forgotten. Now they were done hiding. Rhea entered the control room. Transmission from one of our outposts? The Union found them. They're surrounded. Elias nodded slowly. Send orders. What orders? She asked. He turned to her, eyes cold. Tell them to hold. We're coming. The small human fleet moved fast, a handful of ships compared to the Union's armadas. But every pilot was trained in silence, fear, and pain. They arrived near the frozen moon of Dareth V, where their allies were pinned down. The Union fleet above the moon looked unstoppable, hundreds of ships surrounding the human base. Elias stood on the bridge. Activate the veil. Soft hum filled the air. Around the human fleet, a dark mist spread out, an old stealth field powered by strange energy. The ships vanished from sensors. The Union didn't even know death was coming. Inside the Union command ship, officers reported calmly, perimeter secured. No human signals detected. Then, without warning, the sky opened. Human ships burst out of the mist, firing precise railgun shots. Union destroyers fell in seconds. Confusion spread as the humans attacked from every direction. Admiral Zeroth's voice boomed through the cum. All ships focus fire, but they couldn't. The humans moved like shadows, invisible and silent. In minutes, the massive fleet turned into a graveyard of twisted metal. On the ground, human soldiers fought like demons. They didn't use shields or plasma rifles, only bullets, explosives, and willpower. Each one fought knowing that this wasn't just war. It was payback. Elias and Rhea landed with the ground team. Smoke and fire surrounded them. Rhea shouted over the noise, "We've got civilians trapped inside the caves." Elias nodded. "Get them out. We're done running. We protect our own." Hours later, the battle ended. The Union fleet was gone. The human survivors were safe. But as Elias looked at the stars, he knew this was only the beginning. Back on Velian Prime, panic spread once again. Reports came in from every front. Human attacks were growing, not random, but targeted. The Union's secret archives, once buried deep, were being exposed. Every crime, every betrayal, every lie about Earth was coming to light in the council chamber. The High Chancellor's face was pale. "They're not fighting for survival anymore," she said quietly. "They are fighting for truth." Admiral Zorath stood silent. He had seen the recordings, the burned cities, the crying children of Earth. He finally understood why humans fought like no other species. They had lost everything, and when you lose everything, fear becomes your weapon. As the meeting ended, one message appeared on every Union system once again. The same voice, calm and cold, filled the air. "You called us extinct. You called us savages. But we remember the fire you gave us. Now we give it back." "Back aboard the Revenant?" Rhea asked softly. "How far will this go, Captain?" Elias stared into the darkness beyond the stars. "Until every world that cheered for Earth's death knows what regret feels like." The stars reflected in his eyes, cold and distant. The humans had started a storm the galaxy couldn't stop. And the galaxy was only beginning to understand the truth. They had awakened something that should have stayed buried. Something called humanity. Velian Prime was no longer a city of light. Smoke rose above the skyline, and the once proud capital of the Galactic Union trembled under its own fear. Rumors spread faster than any official statement could control. Some said entire Union fleets were defecting. Others whispered that humans had spies even inside the Council. No one knew what was true anymore. Admiral Zorath stood before the High Chancellor in the ruined Council chamber. The air was thick with tension. Holograms of destroyed fleets surrounded them, each one marked by the same cold human message: "We remember Earth." The Chancellor's voice shook. "We were supposed to bring order to the galaxy. How did we create this?" Zorath stared at the holograms. "Because we lied. The Union wasn't made to protect life. It was made to control it." There was silence. For the first time, even the High Chancellor looked afraid. Across the stars, on a forgotten asteroid station, hidden in the shadow of a dying sun, the Revenant floated silently. Inside, the human crew gathered around their captain. Elias Kane looked older now. The war had changed him. His face carried the scars of battles both won and lost. Rhea stepped forward. "The Union is falling apart. Worlds are rebelling. Fleets are refusing to fight. We could stop now, Elias. We made our point." Elias looked at her with tired eyes. "No, we haven't finished yet." He activated the holomap. A red mark glowed in the center of the galaxy. Project Silent Dawn. "This is the truth they still hide," he said. It wasn't just Earth they destroyed. Silent Dawn was a Union experiment. They used our people to test weapons, biological ones. Earth wasn't bombed. It was poisoned. The room went silent. Even the hardened soldiers stared in disbelief. Rhea's voice broke the silence. "You mean, the Union didn't just attack us out of fear?" Elias shook his head. "They used us as an experiment. When the plague spread beyond control, they wiped the planet to hide it. Every alien in their fleet believed Earth attacked first. That was their lie." For a moment, no one spoke. Then Elias said quietly, "Now we show them what they did." The humans began their most dangerous mission yet, to reveal the truth across the galaxy. They didn't need bombs this time. They needed proof. Hours later, a small human shuttle infiltrated a Union data relay on the world of Zephyra Prime. Disguised as a trading vessel, it slipped through the defenses unnoticed. Inside, Rhea and a team of hackers worked in silence. Their eyes glowing from neural links. Accessing core, one of them whispered, "We're in." The data vaults of the Union were massive, but the humans knew exactly where to look. They found the files, video logs, research notes, orders signed by the High Chancellor herself. The truth was worse than they imagined. Millions of humans were captured for study. Children were used to test the spread of the weapon. Whole continents were sacrificed in the name of science. Rhea's voice trembled. God, how can anyone do this? Elias's reply was cold, because they thought we were weak. They uploaded the data. Within minutes, every major communication network in the galaxy received the message. Every planet, every ship, every citizen saw the truth of what the Union had done. The reaction was immediate. Riots broke out on dozens of worlds. Member species withdrew their armies. Union banners were burned in the streets. The great Galactic Union, once the symbol of peace, was crumbling. Back on Velian Prime, chaos ruled. The High Chancellor watched helplessly as her empire collapsed. Admiral Zoroth stood beside her. "You brought this on us," he said coldly. The Chancellor turned in rage. "You think they'll spare you? You helped destroy their world." Zoroth's eyes narrowed. "And that's why I'll face them myself." Meanwhile, the Revenant drifted through space, silent as ever. Rhea watched the news feeds with disbelief. "The galaxy finally knows," she said. Elias nodded. "Truth is the sharpest weapon." "We gave them that," Rhea frowned. "But what now? They'll never forgive us for what we've done." Elias looked out the viewport. "We didn't fight for forgiveness. We fought for memory. For every life they erased." The stars reflected on his face, cold and endless. "Now, they will never forget who humans are." But before the crew could rest, an alarm echoed through the ship. The scanners lit up red. A massive Union fleet, larger than any before, was approaching. At its center was the Obsidian Fang. Rhea's voice turned sharp. "It's Zoroth. He's coming for us." Elias smiled faintly. "Good. Let's finish what we started." As the human ship powered up its engines, the galaxy held its breath. The war that began in silence was about to end in fire, far across the stars. The transmission of Elias Kane still echoed through abandoned worlds. "You taught us fear. Now, we teach you why you were right to fear us." The stars were silent as the two fleets faced each other. The last great battle was about to begin, in the center of the galaxy. Near the shattered remains of a long-dead star, the Revenant floated alone, a small, black scar against the light of countless Union warships. The Obsidian Fang led the massive fleet, its dark hull gleaming under the cold light. Admiral Zoroth stood on his bridge, eyes fixed on the lone human ship. Around him, officers whispered nervously. "Sir, their ship is alone," one said. Zoroth's claws scraped against the floor. "No," he muttered. "They're never alone." On the Revenant, Captain Elias Kane stood at the viewing port, watching the enemy gather. Rhea joined him, her face pale but calm. "There must be over 3,000 ships out there," she said. Elias smiled faintly. "Then it's a fair fight." The crew around them worked in silence, each one knowing this could be their final mission. They had spent years in the shadows, fighting from the dark. But this time, they weren't going to run. They were going to finish it. Elias opened the comms channel. His voice carried through the void, reaching every ship in the Union fleet. "This is Captain Elias Kane of the Terran Vanguard. You destroyed our world. You buried our history. You turned our name into a curse. But today, that name becomes your nightmare." For a moment, there was silence. Then Zoroth's voice came through, deep and steady. "You think vengeance will save you, human? You have no home left. You have no empire. You have nothing." Elias's eyes were cold. "You're wrong. We have memory, and that's enough." The transmission ended. Both fleets powered up their weapons. The battle began. The Revenant moved first, impossibly fast for its size. It weaved between the massive Union ships, firing railguns that punched through armor like paper. Avav I've ribbon brain and everinker. I'm so river by with suffer and for I'm some for I was the sun sometime I'm fine when I'm the when I ran with sisters the win for was with Union ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light, but their numbers seemed endless. Rhea shouted, "Shields at 30%. Hold them," Elias ordered. "Focus fire on the Obsidian Fang." From his flagship, Admiral Zoroth gave the command. "All units surround them. Crush that ship." Hundreds of Union cruisers turned their guns toward the small human vessel. Plasma beams lit up the dark, tearing through debris and flame. The Revenant shook violently, alarms screaming, metal groaning under the impact. Inside the bridge, sparks flew. Rhea grabbed the console to steady herself. "We can't take another hit." Elias wiped blood from his forehead. "Then we make this one count." He activated the ship's core, a weapon of last resort. Project Phoenix, forbidden power source built from the remains of Earth's last reactor. The engines roared. Glowing brighter than a star, Zoroth saw it and shouted, "He's going to blow the core. Stop him." But it was too late. The Revenant's systems began to overload. The ship trembled as energy built up inside. Rhea turned to him, voice breaking. "Elias, if you do this," he interrupted softly, "we end it here, Rhea. For Earth." She stared at him for a moment, then nodded. For Earth. Outside, the Revenant plunged straight toward the Obsidian Fang. Union ships tried to block it. The small vessel slipped through like a burning arrow. Explosions followed in its wake. On the Obsidian Fang, Zoroth's crew screamed as the human ship came closer. He watched it without fear. "So this is what your kind calls courage," he whispered. The Revenant struck the flagship's core. For one blinding second, the galaxy itself seemed to stop. A white light consumed everything, spreading like a storm through the system. When it faded, both ships were gone. Nothing left but silence and drifting ash. Days later, across the galaxy, the news spread. The Union fleet was destroyed. Admiral Zoroth was dead. The Terran vanguard was gone. But the message they left behind continued to play across every system, a simple transmission, repeating endlessly through space. "We were humans. You feared us because you could not break us. Remember us not as monsters, but as the truth you tried to bury." Years passed. The Union never recovered. Many of its worlds declared independence. Some even began to honor the humans they once called savages. Monuments were built on dead worlds with a single word carved into stone: Earth, and sometimes late at night. Traders claimed to see a black ship in the distance, old, silent, and scarred, flying through the void with a faint red glow. They said it was the Revenant, still watching, still guarding the stars. Whether it was true or just a legend, no one could say. But every species in the galaxy remembered one truth: the day the galaxy learned to fear the name human.